Warning: the following video is rated S for scary. Halloween is finally here. It's time for all the ghouls to come out and play, and for your worst nightmares to become reality. On a night like this, you probably want to play a scary game, right? Maybe you would like to go to a mansion where the residents are evil and hungry for your flesh. Or perhaps you would like to visit a hillside town where the streets may be silent, but your screams will fix that soon enough. There are many terrifying options out there, each one more disturbing than the last. But perhaps tonight I could interest you in something a little different. You see, there is an island out there in the digital world, full of cute, innocent Digimon that have been led astray by the machinations of a devious man. But this Halloween, we will be taking over, spreading fear and mischief, playing tricks and taking treats by force. When the sun sets, we will go out there on the hunt, and File Island will know what true evil is all about. But how will we get to the digital world, you may be wondering? Well, as luck would have it, the leader of the Digimon tried to bring someone from the real world to save the island. But unfortunately for him, he ended up bringing us instead, right where we wanted to be. But we will need a creation strong enough to bend everyone here to our will. Who cares about being friends with Digimon? No, we will use them to get what we want. We start off with a pathetic looking rookie Agumon. But I know how we can get a strong Digimon out of him. Not by training him, no. It's time for our first trick. Cause we're gonna let him get the life beaten out of him. We're gonna stand by and watch as this poor thing struggles, but ultimately fails and succumbs to the pain. Do not worry, this sacrifice had to be made. Because now, this Agumon will contort and wither away. And from its lifeless body, a ghostly apparition will be born. Yes, a champion level Digimon on the very first day. Now that is what I'm talking about. Spooky will strike fear in the hearts of those who oppose him. But it's not possible to be evil on an empty stomach. No, we need proper meat. The farm here is terrible. So, under the cover of the night, we found a Palmon who might be able to help with that. But we'll need to show it who's the boss first. Surprisingly, it isn't afraid of our ghostly fiend right away and goes on the offensive. I am not sure how a ghost takes damage or becomes poisoned for that matter, but this is a weird, strange world to begin with. Eventually, Spooky gets the upper hand and the Palmon becomes paralyzed with fear. It can only stand around and watch as Spooky attempts to rewire its brain. This is needed for it to become a proper, unthinking follower for us. The electrocution would render it unable to resist our will. With Palmon on the brink, one last evil touch was all that was needed, and the process was complete. Palmon was now one of the creatures of the night. At sunset the following day, Spooky ventured a bit outside of our city to exterminate some Madoki Betamon. This was partly done for fun. Spooky is a mischievous thing after all. But also, Spooky could learn the electric cloud from those Madoki Betamon. Stronger foes will need to be hit with greater strength to bend their will to our liking. Now, we do have to take Spooky to the gym, as even a ghost needs to train muscle strength in this world. And it also needs to go to the bathroom because why not? And of course, a well-rested evil creature will be a strong evil creature. But Halloween is also about trick-or-treating. This tiny Digimon did not give us a treat, so Spooky decided to give him one instead. Spooky is such a generous Digimon, isn't he? Now, in the darkness of the night, it's time to visit the drill tunnel to give the Digimon here a little fright. I think this Dreamojimon wants something more than a trick or treat from us, so we'll have to teach this pervert a lesson. Spooky's new move certainly does a lot of damage to this punk, doesn't it? It may be big, but Spooky is a tough old thing. Pathetic punches like that don't do much to him at all. Even that big hard drill doesn't do much. We'll soften it up in no time. Wait, no, that sounds wrong. Well, anyway, Digimon doesn't have a hope, and prayer won't work here, as it gets tossed around like a rag doll in his own home, writhing around in pain. I think it's scared now. That's good. It should be. As the dust settles, there is no more Digimon left, only another mindless servant to do our bidding. Further into the drill tunnel, we'll find another Digimon. For evil to thrive, sometimes hard work is needed. In this case, we'll literally shovel some dirt out of here. It is worth it, for the work will make Spooky stronger than he is. After that, we'll leave this Digimon to finish up the work. In the meantime, we'll make trouble elsewhere. This Kunimon seems like he could use a fright, but it turned out to be a lot stronger than I expected. It kept turning our Spooky into a pixelated ghost, like the ones from Pac-Man. But all that courage soon began to run out, as the fear started to set in. That's how it always works. They think they can fight back, but then their body becomes numb. It tried to be a hero by pulling out a powerful final move, but it was weak, and Spooky puts the Kunimon out of its misery. Another heart overwhelmed by darkness. May this Kunimon serve us well in our evil goals. But the night is still young, so let's head out into the Amida forest and see what we can find. Well, we ended up clearing the maze and finding Centarumon, who doesn't even try to put up a fight, and agrees to be a follower right away. Good boy. Our tiny Betamon is all alone here when we find him. He doesn't put up a struggle either and quickly joins our side. I like it when they don't struggle against evil. It's easier that way. Our Spooky continues to gain even more strength and devours the flesh of the fallen to do so. What a vicious creature. It's time to head back to Drill Tunnel, as there is another Digimon there whose will we must break. Miramon puts on a good show. He wants to save the island. He wants to be the hero. But let's face it, he is not strong enough to stand in our way. But we'll make him realize that the hard way. He starts the fight by trying to take the initiative, but Spooky saw that coming a mile away, and the shock therapy begins. Miramon does show some guts by blocking the next one and going in for another kick, but Spooky isn't gonna let that happen. Spooky is gonna fry Miramon's brain. And look at that, Miramon running scared. How pitiful. He does manage to turn Spooky into the Pac-Man ghost again, but it's not the end of the world. Spooky even uses it to his advantage to dodge a couple of attacks that would have landed otherwise. This ghost is really full of tricks. Spooky slowly chips away at this false hero's sanity, one electrocution at a time. And eventually, as it always does, the fear overcomes Miramon, rendering him stuck in place, unable to move. As Miramon tries to find a place to hide, he turned his back on Spooky. Terrible idea, really. And with that, Miramon has been broken as well. Another minion to do our bidding. Wonderful. But not all Digimon need to be recruited to the dark side through violence, you know. Sometimes, offering a helping hand to those in need can make them quite loyal servants. Anyway, Spooky finds an invisible bridge here. To make sure it's real, he poops on it. I am sure this will freak out anyone looking up at it from the ground. Very clever, Spooky. Another very cute trick. As we wander around on the Great Canyon, we are ambushed by would-be bad guys, led by an ogre.
What are you doing in my swamp?
They think they've found easy prey, but they'll find out that on this night, they're the prey, and they've found a predator. This battle takes a while, as the bandits do their best to gang up on Spooky. I am not against that idea. It is positively villainous behavior. But they're also quite dumb to be really evil, as they hurt each other as much as they hurt Spooky, if not more. The weaker Agumon slowly become overwhelmed by fear and exhaustion as the battle wears on. Their small bodies can only take so much punishment. Try as they might, I am sure they know in the bottom of their hearts that they have found a very malicious entity here, far more dangerous than they themselves could hope to be. Eventually, the ogre is left all alone. With his partners no longer by his side, the fear begins to eat away at his heart. Spooky, on the other hand, only becomes stronger as the fight goes on. As Spooky gets ready to land one final blow, the ogre can only watch, and soon falls to his knees, defeated. Somehow, the ogre manages to escape, but we'll get him soon enough. It's time to go back home so Spooky can recover from that fight. There are many more to come, I'm sure, and I think he deserves a little treat for all his hard work. Oh, but what's this? It appears that Spooky had another trick up his sleeve, as he digivolves into a frightening, chainsaw-wielding maniac. If our adversaries had trouble before, I can't imagine how they'll handle this monstrosity coming after them. Let's test out Spooky's new form by going out to the Great Canyon again. Here, we'll draw the attention of Birdramon, known for being quite the powerful Digimon around here. Well, that rumor isn't entirely misplaced after all. This Birdramon only knows one move, and it's a very strong one. While ultimate level Spooky is definitely quite powerful, the lack of any strong moves does hold it back quite a bit. Unfortunately, there aren't any places where it can learn cool new moves, at least none that are available right now. Still, Birdramon is on the receiving end of constant shock therapy, and that is beginning to take its toll. The fear is beginning to set in, as it bows its head in front of the superior being. And now then, let's see what kind of secret weapon our Spooky has access to now. Well, I'm not sure what that is, but I suppose we don't really need it at this time, as Birdramon has already been beaten. We've clipped its wings, and now Birdramon belongs to us. But you know, I haven't forgotten about that ogre who tried to ambush us. Maybe it's time we pay him and his crew a visit, in their own swamp. Even if they just want to be left alone, we are going ogre there.
What are you doing in my swamp?
Chainsaw Spooky might be sleepy as we finally get to the ogre and his followers, but he'll be more than happy to rev up his chainsaw one more time, to mow down the ogre and more of his friends. It's time for round 2. Now, we do get to see a different move from the electrocution which we've been relying on so far. Chainsaw Spooky throws around some sharp, metallic objects at his foes. That's very naughty, I gotta say. Who knows what kind of infected materials he's throwing around, with reckless abandon. The poor little Agumon can't take that for too long, that's for sure. Especially with the ogre doing his best to annihilate his own friends. You never know what an ogre is thinking. You know what they say about ogres, right? They are like onions, because they make others cry. And also because they have layers, apparently. Once again, it comes down to Spooky versus the ogre. It's time for our secret special move. I bet last time was a fluke, and it will do a ton of damage now. Go, Spooky, go! Okay, I guess. It's like a landmine? Maybe we have to move the ogre near it to make it go off. Well, that is easier said than done. Spooky is designed to hurt, not for tactical battlefield movement. And apparently the thing has a timer as well, so we can't have a bunch of them lying around on the battlefield. That would have been quite cool, but oh well, the evil guys never catch a break. But here it is, time for another attempt. As far as I can tell, there is no way for me to help guide the direction of the attack or anything like that. But I don't care. Chainsaw Bomberman Spooky is gonna find a way to get that ogre to walk over that thing. Come on now. Come over here. Yeah, here we go. And boom! Now that was satisfying. It didn't put the ogre down completely, but there wasn't much left after that. Another shock to the system and its curtains for this foe. But this ogre continues to defy us as he runs away once more. I suppose we need to peel a few more layers off of him still. But he did leave all this stuff behind for us, and what kind of evil villains would we be if we did not loot everything in sight? While we do lose track of the ogre, we'll get to add another minion to the growing horde, as Shellmon joins our cause. As we go back to take a breather from all the evil, we are, in the middle of the night, bothered by a Greymon. Poor thing, he came seeking his own destruction. Greymon is going to learn that you shouldn't go looking for things that go bump in the night. Ah yes, it is time for the ultimate move. Finish him, Spooky. Well, that was a move. Good one, Spooky. But who needs a finisher? Look at that Greymon, shivering so pathetically. Are you scared, Greymon? You should be. It's time for another attempt at this move. There it goes! Again. Well, it's still on screen this time, I guess. But we don't even need it, as Greymon has had enough. He can't fight anymore. The pain is simply too much. With Greymon on our side, we are another step closer to our goal. But there is more to do still. We'll take a moment to visit Trash Mountain now, to pick up a filthy old fishing rod lying around. With this, around sunset, we can fish out Seedramon, who looks more terrifying than anything I can show you. Although this disturbing creature won't join our cause, we'll be able to get a couple of new faces to do that instead. Next, we'll head to the secret beach cave, where we can hear a scary voice coming from deeper within. Well, I think it's been long enough since we've given that ogre and his posse a thorough beating. It's time to beat the life out of them once more. But they did bring a frightening fiend of their own this time. They've brought up something terrifying from the depths of the ocean. Let's see if this creature has what it takes to slow us down. Our mask-wearing foe lashes out immediately, at its own teammates, no less. This thing wants to see blood, and doesn't care who it belongs to. I like that. Gabumon is quickly put away, as Chainsaw Spooky shows that he is made of sterner stuff. He throws around sharp, metal objects without a care in the world. He, too, wants to see his foes bleed. The ogre and the mask become unable to act, as they begin to realize that they are up against a demon of the night. The ogre tries to get away, but escape isn't possible. Spooky won't let that happen so easily. The mask tries to shake off the fear and attack, but Spooky isn't bothered by such a pathetic attempt. And it is time for Spooky's secret weapon to do unspeakable things and oh, there it goes. Well, okay, let's ignore that then. Look at the ogre. Look at what a frightened heart looks like. He can't do anything, and he knows it. Soon, another layer is peeled off of this ogre. I doubt that there are many left now. Spooky continues to show our mask-wearing foe just how skilled he is in battle, as he stands barely out of reach of attacks. Evil certainly breeds confidence. And to put an exclamation point on this show of utter dominance, Chainsaw Spooky throws his secret weapon behind the mask, knowing it will attempt to run away. As it does, it can't help but run right into the well-placed trap, taking an enormous amount of damage. And that is all she wrote for this fiend, as it draws its final breath. Well done, Spooky. Well done indeed. With a last-ditch effort, the ogre is able to slither away to safety. It's okay. Let him run. Let him hide. He can't do it forever. we'll finish him off soon enough. For us, the night is still young. There are new places to see. It's time to head to Spooky's hometown. It's time to go to Factorial Town. Among the filthy Digimon hanging around here, there are some mechanical entities roaming around too. Perhaps they are related to Spooky in some way, but our tiny monster isn't opposed to cutting down his own kin, especially if doing so can help him learn something new to use against future foes. But having returned to his home and breathing in the toxic air of his land, it appears that Spooky has done everything he wanted to do. He has returned and is ready to move on from this mortal coil. Rest now, Spooky. There will be others to carry on our collective will, and I've got big plans for our next creation. I don't know if you all know about this, but there are stories and myths about a legendary group of warriors who saved this world a long time ago. They were led by a pure soul, determined to clean the island from all those who would dare to bring harm to it. The descendants of those heroes are still around, apparently, and can be acquired through Digivolution. But I don't know if I believe the stories. Look at this pathetic, weak creature. But as useless as it might appear to be, it does instinctively want to clean. How odd. But we are not here to throw a party with it. No. This creature will be our next sacrifice. A long time ago, there was a certain pizzeria where the animatronic suits would provide fun and entertainment. It was always a good time at Freddy Fazbear's, until one day when things went horribly wrong. The place was shut down and the suits were expected to be disposed of. But that's not quite what happened. You see, I found one of those suits here, and this Numemon will play an important role by getting stuffed within its confining structure for all eternity. This eldritch ritual will give the gift of life to a being who I like to call Golden Freddy. For those who believe that he was long gone, well, he's still here. Within this strange toy town, we can find Warumon Zeamon, also known as Nightmare Freddy. There can only be one animatronic creating havoc out here, so Nightmare Freddy will have to be put out of commission. Golden Freddy, after being a lifeless husk for so many years, does have a lot of ring rust, but that is to be expected. Our adversary has no such problems, however, as he tries to cut our monster down immediately. Eventually though, the instincts begin to come back for Golden Freddy, as he begins to hammer away at the Nightmare. It is a battle of attrition, one could say. Two unholy abominations determined to bring the other down once and for all. But unlike the Nightmare, Golden Freddy is not inherently a truly malicious entity. While there is a lot of rage inside him, there is still a tenderness within his heart that few can understand. But it does give our Freddy access to a greater strength, one that can surpass pure animosity, a strength that helps overcome Nightmare Freddy and put him down once and for all. With that taken care of, it's time for Freddy to explore the world with us and help us bring it to its knees. First, it's time to head back to Factorial Town. We still have some unfinished business there. Golden Freddy is quite used to sleeping at night, it seems. But it's okay, he'll manage it somehow. As we continue to eradicate all those who stand in our way, we come face to face with someone we knew quite well. Is this a remnant of Chainsaw Spooky, I wonder? Perhaps its spirit isn't completely at rest after all. Or maybe it's a different Gyromon entirely. That I find difficult to believe after witnessing its capacity for destruction. In any case, we can't turn down an invitation for a fight now, can we? Well, if this is Chainsaw Spooky's spirit, it has certainly picked up a whole lot of new tricks in the short time we've been apart. Golden Freddy may not have such fancy moves at his disposal, but he does have a very capable pair of hands. which this Gyromon is about to catch plenty of times. Freddy, quite literally, doesn't let this Gyromon get anything going. There's a constant barrage of hooks and punches coming at the tiny mechanical monster, whose attacks take too long to get going, making it easy for Freddy to interrupt them with another smash. And with his foe right where he wants him, Golden Freddy opens up his heart to the Gyromon, who experiences a fragment of the pain and suffering that the spirit of Freddy has had to endure. Fear finally sets in within Gyromon, and Freddy soon delivers a knockout blow to end this fight. Be quiet now, tiny thing. It's all over. All this constant fighting while sleep deprived certainly has taken a toll on Golden Freddy, but he must endure. We are getting close. This wretched creature attempts to pose a challenge to us, but he can't take more than a single shot from Golden Freddy before he remembers his place. Those heroic stories sound more far-fetched by the second, but I suppose having another minion wouldn't hurt. Wandering around Factorial Town, we run into Metal Mamemon, posing as a Metal Greymon. Identity theft is quite evil, so this guy will make a fine addition to our growing horde of minions. Of course, we'll have to take him by force if needed. Unlike Gyromon, this tiny metal dude is a lot faster and sharper, and his moves are much quicker as well. But Golden Freddy only understands one way to show his emotions, and that is to lash out and hammer away at his foes with his bare hands. It is a simple strategy, but one that has proven to be quite effective so far. One can only take so many haymakers to the back of the head before being frozen in place, at least momentarily, which means they can sit tight while Freddy treats them as his personal punching bag. Our opponent does try to put up a fight and brings out his best moves in order to try and defend himself, but Freddy is not fazed by these flashy attacks, no. Golden Freddy then opens up his heart to show Metal Mamemon his pain. It is quite effective, but our opponent tries to be a hero and goes for an ultimate move himself. But all it does is anger Freddy, who punishes this imposter Metal Greymon. There are no heroes in this world, you see. It is silly to try and be one. And with this, our goal is close. I can feel it. Oh, and it appears that this Gyromon wants to help us conquer this world. Very well. Come along, tiny friend. Now let's see what he can do. Ah, I see. Well, that is helpful. But anyway, we are almost there. We are almost ready to face our rival, the one who also wishes to take over this island. We need to get a few more recruits on our side first, though. And who better to start with than that old ogre who keeps getting away. But this time, he is cornered. Nowhere to go now, filthy beast. And Freddy is angry, and he doesn't understand what it means to pull punches on weaker Digimon, and he puts down one of the Agumon immediately. To be fair, the other one wasn't long for this world either. All that sleep deprivation probably made Golden Freddy even more unhinged than he was before, and he wasn't exactly a stable entity to begin with. And once the battle gets down to him and the ogre, there wasn't any stopping Freddy anymore, as he hammers away at the flesh of this pitiful creature, peeling away the remaining layers one by one. There was only one thing left to say. It's all ogre now. With his mind finally broken along with his body, all he can do is sit on the lifeless body of his former comrade. He understands now that the purpose of his existence is to do our bidding. Look at that Agumon though, pretending to be out cold, checking to see if we had left yet. Clever thing, we'll let him live. As we begin preparations for the final challenge, it appears Golden Freddy's spirit is ready to leave. You've done well, Freddy. You can now rest. For the end of the journey, we will create a weapon strong enough to bend even the most powerful foes to our will. The first step of that process involves getting a Patamon. This little creature has the potential to become one of the most divine, most pure Digimon out there. You all might be thinking, why would we need the services of an angel to accomplish our evil goals? Well, you'll see. 'Cause we are gonna let this angel be corrupted. Look at it, being covered by filth. This is what the good guys deserve after all. On a side note, I do hope you're all enjoying watching this. If this isn't peak scary content fit for Halloween, I don't know what is. After passing out in a pile of feces, the process is complete. For now, this angel will be forced to digivolve. Let us welcome the living embodiment of the Prince of Evil himself. Digimon is a very ruthless creature. It enjoys the pain and suffering of those beneath him. As nighttime rolls around, Digimon goes on the hunt, targeting poor, unsuspecting wild enemies who could not hope to put up a fight. So we go around, attacking every wild Digimon we come across, so that Digimon can sate his violent tendencies. After a whole lot of this carnage, the process is complete. Digimon is ready to mutate into an even more destructive Digimon. He is here, the deadliest weapon in all the land. We need a suitable name for such a monster, right? He will be the antithesis of the legendary hero that people tell stories about. He will be Makill. Before anything else, I think Makill needs to learn a couple of new moves. The Ice Digimon in Friesland apparently have an amazing move that our bony demon can learn. After smashing through a lot of them, Makill learns Giga Freeze, but that isn't the one I had in mind. There is another move that is, for the lack of a better word, completely and utterly broken. It's quick and does a lot of damage. I am sure there are many who would avoid the use of such a broken move, but villains like us do not care. After a while, it finally happens. Makill has learned Ice Statue. This is the beginning of the end. You'll see what I mean soon enough. Perhaps a demonstration of Makill's ability is what we need. For that, we have to head to the Grey Mansion. Within its walls, it is said that there is an imitation of Makill hiding within the basement. I was intrigued by that and figured it was worth checking out. And it turns out that yes, there is another. This Skull Greymon, is it as tough as the one we have with us? I think it's time to find out. Immediately, you can see the impact of Ice Statue. It deals an enormous amount of damage and can even potentially stun at a very high rate. With this move, Makill makes quick work of this poor man's imitation. Ice Statue, followed up by a relentless beatdown. It feels like Makill had a bone to pick with this cheap copy. Well, that was a pretty capable demonstration. I think we are ready to bone our challenge. It is time for us to head to Mount Infinity. There are 4 bosses here that we need to punish. The first is Digimon. But really, what could a champion level Digimon hope to accomplish against the supreme embodiment of evil? Absolutely nothing is the answer to that question. It barely has the ability to mount any sort of offense at all, as it ends up frozen in place and beaten down into the ground. Makill is a savage creature indeed. No mercy, no concept of fair play whatsoever. A machine designed to deliver pain, and one very good at its job. Digimon did not have a prayer in the world. Up next is Megadramon, and I thought maybe this one would offer a more substantial challenge. But Makill had other ideas. Megadramon kept trying to go for his fancy moves and techniques, but it did not really get the chance to show anything before being relentlessly pummeled by the vicious Makill. This certainly was a quick but painful fight for Megadramon. And here we have Metal Greymon, the final wall before we meet our rival. Does he have what it takes to stand up against Makill? Well, did we really expect anything different from what we are seeing here? This is not a contest. Metal Greymon is just another bag of meat for Makill to tenderize until it's nice and soft and ready for consumption. Metal Greymon tries to put up some form of resistance, but it is futile. Nothing can stand in the way of Makhil's wrath. And here we are, the final challenge. Analog Man must have thought it would be easy to take over File Island, but his days were numbered the moment we arrived. As he brings out his own ultimate creation, it is time for us to show this poser what true evil is all about. Immediately, Makhil goes on the offense, paralyzing Machine-Raman. It is a brutal assault in every sense of the word. Makhil does not slow down. He does not give Machine-Raman a moment to catch his breath. There is a ruthlessness to Makhil's offense which is hard for even me to stomach. Machine-Raman spends the majority of his last moments of existence frozen in place, unable to do anything but feel pain, as Makhil continues to give him a beating, the likes of which Analog Man had probably never seen before. Makhil has no rivals. Those who oppose him are only prey to Makhil. As the curtains begin to close on Machine-Raman, Makhil decides to end this fight with his ultimate move. I think it's safe to say, no one is getting up from that. Rest in pieces, Machine-Raman. You have been thoroughly boned. We've done it. We have conquered File Island. Our only competition has been completely humiliated. Rejoice, my friends, for this is the beginning of an era of darkness. And yet, it feels incomplete. A hero may one day step up and oppose us. Makhil is very strong, there's no doubt, a weapon of pure destruction. But there isn't a hero around right now for us to test our strength against. But what if we can fight the simulation of a hero instead? Within the data of this world, we can find the memory of the greatest hero. While it may not be the real deal, we'll still be able to get a pretty good idea about how strong it was. Are you all ready for this? A cage match between the symbol of destruction known as Makhil and the memory of the being known as McLean. On a night like this, there can only be one winner, right? But let's see if this so-called hero lives up to his name. Here we go. The fight begins with the two flying right out of the gates, ready to exchange blows. But things quickly turn into a one-way slaughter, as Makhil goes on a rampage against his slimy opponent. The absolutely broken ice statue is certainly putting in a lot of work. It's so fast and it hits McLean before he can get any of his attacks off. McLean is backed into a corner, as the Bone Lord keeps him frozen in place for the majority of this fight. If we can even call this a fight. It is depressing to watch, I'm sure, for the majority of McLean's fans. But this is the reality of our world. Watch and learn. This isn't a game where the hero will get the upper hand and turn things around at the last moment. That's not how it works. Here, evil triumphs over good every time. It is over. Makhil has triumphed over the simulated hero. The symbol of peace for the digital world has been broken. Hope itself has left File Island. Be afraid, everyone. Be very afraid. Makhil has won, and now Makhil is coming for you. Wow, that got a bit dark at the end. Well, I hope you all enjoyed this Halloween special. If you did, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And if you would like to support us directly, feel free to do so on our Patreon. As for the community challenge for this week, here are the people who had the right answers. Very nicely done, everyone. You're all super smart. Big thumbs up. And finally, here is a quick shout out to the people who help keep this channel alive. Thank you, Chaos Untold, Vanilla, Maxer5000 and Blake CN1 for your support. And here is a big thank you for McDivil for being a true friend of the channel. You are awesome, McDivil. And of course, here's a super big thank you for Stephen Ford, the Ultra Mega Chat Man. Your support is highly appreciated, Stephen Ford. And that is all I have for you today. I hope you all have a wonderful Halloween. Be careful when you're watching scary movies, though. A lot of them have jump scares. And it would be a shame if you're trying to have a nice, relaxing time without a care in the world and...
What are you doing in my swamp?